Hey all, welcome back. It's Mike with Kiss Dog Training, and we are going to talk more about dogs and dog training today. And we're going to be discussing an email I got from a previous client with a question that when I started talking to her on the phone, I kind of realized that this is going to be a really good topic to just kind of get out there and talk about because the answers are a little weird. Okay, so let me just kind of give you a brief description of what her question was to me. She was curious about what kind of breeds of dog do well together. She was also curious whether should I get a male or a female dog. Then we started talking, and the question became, well, does this dog really need another dog? And the scenario that we're talking about is we have a older geriatric dog who is winding down their life cycle, and they're thinking, how do we prep and get ready for the next dog in the pack? And the question is, well, do we really need another dog in the pack? Does the dog that they will have by themselves need another dog? Will the walking and exercise that they do with that particular younger dog now be sufficient? Okay. And then she just wanted to kind of, get my opinion on it. And, there are definitely answers to each and every one of these questions that she asked. Okay. And we're going to go over each and every one of them. But the biggest thing I want you to understand is they are at best rules of thumb or generalizations or, old wives' tales. Because in some cases they'll work, in some cases they won't. So, let's take, the first question. What breeds of dogs go better together? Now, obviously, I wouldn't recommend putting a Great Dane and a teacup Chihuahua together. They're just too big. And if the Great Dane got too rambunctious, the Great Dane could hurt the Chihuahua. But as far as breeds go, I think what everybody needs to realize is, everybody wants to put every breed in a bucket and say that's what this breed is. But you got to realize that breed is a spectrum. So, I'm a Great Pyrenees nut, so I'm just going to use them as an example. You could have a Great Pyrenees that is very far on the end of the spectrum that their guarding instinct, their flock protecting instinct is very high. You could have a dog on the other end of that spectrum, a very lazy Great Pyrenees, which would do great in an apartment or something like that. You could have one who is shy. You could have one that's outgoing. So to say that Great Pyrenees in general are this, I think does any breed a disservice. And to say that Great Pyrenees don't get along, I mean, in my house alone, I have a 3-legged little pit bull. I have almost a purebred Great Pyrenees, and I have a German Shepherd mix. Plus my son's dog, who is, if you can imagine this, half Great Pyrenees and half Chinese crested. That's about as, big a combination of breeds that you could throw all together. And all of my dogs are females. And we'll get to that here in a minute. Now, I do think it's important and intelligent on this particular client to be asking these questions, because then a dog trainer can sit down and go, okay, look, I think better than looking at what breeds go together, it might be what the breeds were bred to do. Can I see a lazy lap dog, King Charles Spaniel, and a high drive herding dog like a Blue Heeler? Could I see those two dogs getting into arguments over things because their personalities don't necessarily mesh? Sure, So I think, when we look at breed, let's not look at the breeds. Let's look at what the breeds were bred to do. So, if a great book, we'll add a link to it, is Meet Your Dog by Kim Brophy. She does a great job of breaking down kind of the AKC breed groups, or the categories of dogs from a dog show. She does make a couple of little adjustments there, but then she talks about what can you expect from each one of these. To me, the other way to look at this is, well, what if I just got, mixes, mutts, mongrels, all mixed up? Well, chances are those dogs are going to get along. But we got to look at other things. The dog that you have now, does it get along? Does it do doggy daycare? Can it be boarded? Is it okay with a group of other dogs? Have you seen any issues with male, female? And that's another one we'll talk about here in a little bit. Um, what's the history of the dog? And in this particular case, we got a pretty high drive, high play, want to have a good time dog. Okay. So, I guess the breed thing, let's look more at what is the dog genetically bred to do and what is the new dog's breed genetically bred to do, and think outside the box, and would those two make a good match? Um, but then again, it's like I started this conversation saying that it's a generalization, it's an old wives' tale, it's, whatever you want to call it, but they'll say opposites attract. So that would go completely against what I'm talking about. And that's the important part of this. I think sometimes folks will look at these generalizations as hard and fast rules, and they're just not, okay? The second one, the sex of the dogs. In most cases, people are going to say a male and a female will probably get along better than two males or two females. I have always had female dogs. I hate to speak poorly of my sex, but I think female dogs are smarter than boy dogs. And in that case, I know not to have a younger and an older female by themselves. For me, over the years, I have found that the age span of about 2 years. So if I have a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, if I had 4 dogs, well, the 6 and the 8-year-old are going to kind of buddy up, and the 2 and the 4-year-old are going to kind of buddy up, and the 4 and the 6 are kind of close enough to get along. And I have to do a good job in my household of making sure that the 2 and the 8-year-old can get along. And that's to say, my 8-year-old might be having pain issues with hips or something like this, but if it's a high energy, healthy, good hips, no pain scenario with the older dog, they're going to have pretty much patience. But I think you also need to be aware that when you're looking at these kinds of questions, is, well, how much management do you as an owner do? I always tell my clients that 1 dog is a lot of work. 2 dogs is 3 times as much work. 3 dogs is 9 times as much work, and 4 is 81. It's an exponential growth of work and responsibility and routine that you have to be good at before you can have them. Dogs are not like potato chips. You don't need to have, an entire bag of them. Now, we want to save all the dogs. We want to do everything, but we also have to know what we're capable of. And me as a professional dog trainer, 3 dogs is about my comfort level. My 21-year-old son has moved home and brought home one of my old dogs that he stole from me. So when I say I brought in a 4th dog to this pack, it was a dog that was already used to this scenario. So could we generalize that and say that boys do better with a girl and girls do better, and you got to make sure that they're all the same age or all different ages? I mean, we could make arguments on all of these things. As far as the sexes go, I think it's just important to look at the personality of the dogs. I think it's important for dogs to meet and to get to know each other. I love fostering. A lot of times when I bring another dog into the pack, it's because it's a foster dog that I've had, and I see that they get along with my pack, and I've had them for 4-6 weeks, and I'm like, I foster fail a lot. Let's just put it that way. But I don't know that you can be, again, hard and fast that females and males, males and females, 2 females, 2 males. I have heard kind of the funny argument that when 2 male dogs get into a fight, once you break it up, it's over and it's done with. And when 2 females get in a fight, it can be for life. They can just decide they don't like each other. I will tell you, I do, in my past experience, think that when 2 female dogs get in a fight, it can be a lot uglier fight sometimes. But again, it's a generalization. I've seen 2 females just snip at each other and be done. And I've seen 2 males that just flat decide they don't like each other anymore, and it's dangerous to have them together. What about if we talk about the age of the dogs? Should we bring a puppy in with an older dog? Should we bring a dog the same age? Again, it's the personality of the individuals you have in your pack, not these regurgitated rules that we've heard about for years and years and years. I think it really would also be smart to do what my client did. She had worked with me before. She called me. We talked about it. And I think it would be a good idea that you're dealing with a rescue who is good and reputable and not just interested in rushing dogs out the door, but is interested in making sure that we get a good match between dogs. This is also where we kind of got to talk about the experience of the dog. I mean, ask yourself questions like, well, okay, has my dog done well? Did it come from a pack? Or is this a dog who's lived by themselves for 3 or 4 years, and because I want a dog, I'm going to bring one into the house? That would be a very different scenario than me having 2 years between dogs and 4 dogs, and my older dog passing, and me bringing a puppy into a situation where the other 3 dogs were used to always being the members of a pack. Do you do doggy daycare? Can you go to the dog park? Does your dog enjoy being around other dogs? And we've all met those dogs who flat just don't like being around other dogs. They'd rather be around people. And if your dog is perfectly happy in the scenario they're in, is it fair to force the change of another dog on them? These are all things we got to think about. But I think we need to get away from these generalizations that this breed is bad. This grouping of dogs won't work. We get to where we want to have a quick little anecdote, and dog trainers are as guilty as anybody else of just a quick canned answer about a question. And I guess what I really want to get across with this entire podcast or video, or however you're consuming the content, is these are all generalizations. You can't make a blanket statement one way or the other. So, one dog might do great, another dog might not. It might be 2 females that love each other to death. You might have a male and a female that get along great. You might have 2 males that just flat don't like each other. I would also always, you hear me say this a lot, but get your vet involved in the discussion too. But don't be scared to bring up the idea of, okay, yeah, those are generalizations, but are there exceptions? And it's kind of like learning the English language. The one rule above all rules with the English language is there's always an exception. And there's always an exception here. Opposites attract. You need to be the same. You need to do this. So talk to multiple people, hire a dog trainer, pay them for an hour's worth of their time to figure out what's your house like, what are your logistics like, what's the history of, your pack, what's going on. And we can give you an opinion. Then go talk to the veterinarian and get their opinion. And then go to the rescue or the breeder or however you're getting the dog and talk to them, and then be smart enough to then take a week to just digest everything and make the decision that's best for you and your family. And sometimes, hey, I've seen households with 4, 5, 6 dogs that get along great. I've also seen people who get in over their head and have too many dogs and work too many hours, and it's never a good idea. I've seen people where if they would just take their dog to doggy daycare 3 times a week and let them wear out, it would massively improve their quality of life and the dog's quality of life, but they can't afford it. And you got to look at what can you afford. And I mean, I guess from that standpoint, one final little thought, if you got 4 or 5 dogs, think about the vet bills. You got to be able to think about all of this at once. Don't try to put it all inside one box. You got to look at it from all angles, and you got to make the best decision for you and your dogs. So this is Mike with Kiss Dog Training. Keep those questions coming. Keep sending us emails. Don't forget, you can support the podcast there on Buzzsprout for as little as, I think, $2 or $3 a month. And it helps us with all the production costs and all the people involved that you don't get to see besides my ugly mug on the video. So I appreciate it. It's Mike with Kiss Dog Training. Come back next month, and we'll have a new topic for you.